starting live video. Love it. Got it.
Thank you for joining another episode of the Conley Show. This is episode 15. I'm here with Nathyn. Do you like Nathyn or Nate?
Either's fine.
Either's fine. Nathyn, I forgot to ask you, where are you from?
Originally, I'm from a very small town called Whitman, Massachusetts.
Whitman, Massachusetts.
Population of about 1,500.
Oh, wow,
And
that is a small town.
Yeah, I currently reside in Tampa Bay, Florida.
Tampa Bay, Florida. Never made it down to Florida. Before we get into a little bit about yourself, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on. Like I said, I'm still, new to this. I don't have much experience. I don't have much experience with editing. Maybe you do. I don't know. We'll get into all that. But tell me a little bit about yourself, your backstory. How did you get to be where you are today?
So I'll start from the beginning, right? I grew up in that small town, like I had mentioned. I moved to Florida when I was freshman year in high school. First year I lived here, my father passed away. He was killed in a hit and run motorcycle accident. Really kind of changed the trajectory of my life. Kind of not for the best, that's for sure.
How old were you?
I was about 14, 15, it was freshman going into sophomore year.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, no, definitely. It took me a long time to kind of come to terms with it, but the way I look at it now is if everybody could be so fortunate to die doing what they love, like my father did, then we'd all be better off for it.
Yeah.
But basically, shortly thereafter, it was obviously around that 2008, the market crash, all that stuff. My mom and I lost everything. I was pretty much homeless by 17. I was a drug addict by 21. I was an opiate addict for, probably 2.5, 3 years. I've been clean now for just under 10 years. I've recovered, made it back to normal life. Like most people think a lot, like addiction's kind of the end. Now, fast forward a few years, bought my first house, bought my first realistic dream car. And I was 27 years old and just asked myself the question of man, is this as good as it gets, right? Like at 27, am I peaking out at 27 years old?
It's kind of the situation I'm in. 26 years old, in thousands of dollars debt, made some stupid decisions. And the only way I see out is to be a successful entrepreneur. Because I will get into that, but keep going.
Yeah, no, and 100%, man. So I had that, and I'm sure you've had this conversation. That's kind of why you're probably getting ready to do the move. But I basically asked myself, is this as good as it gets? And when I came to the realization of this can't possibly be what I was put here to do, I asked myself, what scares you most? What is your biggest fear in life? For me, it was college. If you met me before I was 27, I would have told you I was stupid. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, couldn't do math. Went to college. I said I was going all out or nothing. I was a 4.0 student. I sat on 3 state executive boards. I was director of political action for the largest Black student union in the country.
Yeah. I saw that. And keep going, but remind me to ask you a question about that.
Okay, cool, definitely. And then also too, I was in one of the best dead end jobs you could ever be, which is in the gaming casino industry, making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. Started following Grant Cardone, listening to Grant, Tony Robbins, a lot of these guys, and just decided that enough was enough. And I got into sales. Started knocking doors. Grant said the first job you should always have in sales is knocking doors. So you best believe I was knocking doors for a year and a half.
Does that mean going door to door selling?
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Knocking, hey, my name's Nate. I got something you need.
You know what scares me? Cold calling. Yeah. Cold calling is scary. I don't know why.
Cold calling, it is scary. It is scary. But it's one of those things, where, and I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. Fear is, all the good stuff is on the other side of fear. And also fear and emotion and excitement are the same exact emotion.
Yeah.
It's actually, it triggers all the same,
receptors
things in your body.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can either choose to be scared or excited about it. So now I make a few hundred cold calls a day.
Yeah.
Before I was terrified to get on the phone.
Right.
It actually took my best friend, and he had never sold anything in his life, by the way. And this is like a quiet, little shy, super introverted guy, who actually got me to get into health insurance space, because I was on fast track through Charter Communications, to be like a Southeast regional sales manager. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry if something is that my thing. They're doing some fire thing here, guys. Just bear with us. We're gonna make it through. Don't you worry. So, and then he was basically, like, Nate, like, I think you'd be great at this. He believed in me more than I believed in me. And I'm super grateful for that, because he made me, take the leap into go into true entrepreneurship, and
Yeah.
start my own business. And ever since then, man, I've been in the health insurance space, and I'm just looking to expand and keep growing.
I noticed something when you need people, like, just rhetorical, you need people to believe in you, because it's hard when you can't believe in yourself if no one else believes in you. Uh, that's one of the takes I've had. So with me trying to start my own business, I really hope it takes off. And that's somebody I wanted to talk to. You're somebody I wanted to talk to about just to get in the right mindset. What does it take to become a top salesman? What does it take to overcome that fear of approaching customers?
Uh, Full on commitment, man. You just
Yeah,
have to commit. You have to go all in. It sounds very generic, but it's actually the truth, man. Like,
right.
when you commit, I promise you that you will amaze yourself at the things that you're capable of.
Yeah, I believe it.
Because I mean, you're a dude. You're in a great space right now. 26 years old. Like, I'm not sure what your dreams and goals are,
Just
but you're
I kind of, your profile said the same thing about how you talked about you want to get rich to give money away. And I'm in the same situation where I want to help my family. I want to be the one, because never in a million years did I think I could be successful. And successful means just being able to sustain yourself, maybe pass around a little money. Uh, and that right there, that would be success. But everybody has the different definition of success.
definitely. Yes, and like, my biggest dream and goals in the world is, one is I do everything for my father. That's why it's MAM health coverage. It's not NAM. You'll never hear me if any of my pitches say Nathyn. It's always MAM for Mario Anthony Montagano. Um, and I plan to be a billionaire by 45. I know I got to kind of get on it. But I do plan to become a billionaire to give it all away. And
Yeah,
once you reach a certain status and level, in life, the government kind of loses their ability to kind of tell you what you can and can't do.
yeah,
So that's the point I want to make it to, is where, and not just, I just don't want to make $1 billion. I want to make a continuing stream of revenue. It's
yeah. You want your money to
two
make
point
money.
seven eight million dollars a day I want to make,
Yeah,
so I can continue to, feed the poor. And a lot of the stuff of, like, from, like, when I was part of that Black Student Union, like, seeing the struggle and kind of, MLK, like, it's basically MLK is my,
yeah,
or my father's my hero, and then MLK is right there underneath. And I just want to be able to help as many people as I can,
yeah.
just like you.
Um, One of the things I wanted to say, I was teaching for a little bit. I got into some student teaching, and and I didn't finish school. But one of the money was the main reason. But one of the things I did when I was student teaching was there was a class where I was the only white person in the class. And I think that was a really good experience to go through, just to be the odd one. Not, I don't want to say odd one out, but the minority.
Yeah.
And with I was wondering, with you being when you said like an all black, what was it, an all black board or council?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, it's called FASA. It's the Florida African American Student Association. That's basically all the colleges throughout the state of Florida. And I sat on the state executive board, and I was obviously the only white guy. Um, and I ran against a young man who was a 4.0 student from Howard University, who just kind of talked about, kind of just bashed me a little bit because I'm white.
Yeah,
Obviously, I don't know what it's like to be black. I'll never know.
right.
But what he doesn't know about me is that, I do plan to have children that will be mixed. So I need to be well versed in that, right? I
Yeah,
need to be able to know about it. And I wouldn't give up that experience for anything in this world. When they called my name for, winning the position, I've never cried in front of so many people. I was
and
overtaken by emotion. I literally stood up. As soon as I stood up, I went right back to my knees, just bawling my eyes out.
yeah. And
Um,
when was this?
This was probably, let me think. I was probably like 28 or 29 at the time. So
Okay.
probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, but it was an amazing experience, you know, and like it put a lot of things into perspective for me, right? Like one thing I always struggled with was the white privilege thing, right? Because my life has been anything but privileged, right?
Yeah. I
But
don't know what
that's,
when people say that, I'm never sure what that truly means. But I think, I mean, I guess you get an idea of what they're trying to say.
yeah, I mean, you know, and what white privilege is, right? It's not that like we're super privileged and we have all these things that
Yeah.
black people don't, but it's the privilege part is when I walk into a room wearing this suit with a black guy standing next to me walking into the same suit, that we're not necessarily viewed the same, right?
Right.
That's the privilege. When I go into a store, I don't have all eyes on me.
Yeah.
People looking at me, whereas when someone who's black may have that. When I get pulled over by the police with a gun in my car, there's never once have I ever had a gun drawn on me. But
Right.
how many stories do we see where
Yeah.
black people are getting shot and they don't even have a gun on them? You
Right.
know what I mean? And it's like, so like that's the privilege, like that's where white privilege comes in.
I
And that's
agree.
the
I agree.
privilege that we have as like being white people. So it's not about, you know, like we have more or like that we, or our lives aren't difficult too. It's
Right.
just that we don't face the same things that hundreds of years of oppression
I
like black
also
people
think
do.
I also think there's something called green privilege, like where if you have money, it doesn't necessarily mean if you're white, if you're black. There's a certain privilege rich people have that, growing up, people like us may never have experienced. I
Yeah.
can remember going over a friend's house and just being completely blown away with how big their house is, the nice stuff they get. Everybody was always taking vacations, and I never was. Like, I've never even been on an airplane before. And, at 26, that's kind of, that shocks a little people.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing too, is when you are privileged enough to grow up in money, you learn things like financial literacy, right? Like that's why half the world is in the reason, or this country anyways, of why we're in the positions that we're in of barely making it, living paycheck to
Right,
paycheck, is because they don't teach you to invest your money.
right.
They teach you to put your money in a savings account. You know what you're
Yeah,
doing when you put money into a savings account? You're lighting it on fire because
yeah,
it's worthless there.
right.
You could have it in I'm not big on like like IRA, like all that little stuff, but there's stocks, there's real estate, there's so many other places you can invest your money and put your money where it's going to actually give you a return in your value.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and that's a lot of young white people that grow up rich, they learn that stuff early because they see their parents doing it.
Right.
Whereas,
You want
you
to
know,
hear something sad? So I was strapped on cash about 2, 3 years ago, and I sold 11,000 Dogecoin when they were about a penny a piece. I needed the cash. So now I think it's like 30 cents. That was a couple $100. I don't know the exact number, but that I could have made. And it was just that sucks. But I never really invested too much more than a couple $100. So I can't even imagine people that are investing thousands of dollars on one stock. Like if you buy one Bitcoin, it's like $60,000 or something. But that's some serious trading, stock trading.
you want to hear something crazy,
I
Austin? I'm going to
do.
tell you something that's going to truly blow your mind. And this is a no BS story. You can reach out to my buddy San Farha. He can attest to this because he was way ahead of the game. I had a chance to buy Bitcoin
Yeah.
at $20 a coin.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, at that same time, I was gambling tens of thousands of dollars away, playing
Right.
poker, blackjack, all that stuff, because I was in the gaming industry. If
Yeah.
I would have invested just $1,000, I would be worth millions upon millions of dollars today.
Yeah. That's
So,
heartbreaking, isn't it?
and it is and it isn't, right? Because who knows what that might have led to. And
Right.
we can't live in the past. That's like a big thing I always try to tell people and teach people is like, whenever you're feeling sorry for yourself or like, man, I wish that would have went different, you're wasting time, your most valuable commodity, right? Because you always have to be moving forward. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard that Denzel speech that he gives at a college, but he basically says, always fail
I think I
forward,
have heard
right?
that. Yeah, that
And
line
then,
anyway.
and it's important because we spend so much time thinking about what if I would have done this, or what if I would have done that, when we could be thinking about what's next, right? Like, what's the next Dogecoin? What's the next
Yeah.
Bitcoin? What's the next thing that we can do to create something like that, or to change the world or impact the world. You know what I mean? Instead,
Yeah.
everybody sits around going, man, well, what if I would have just spent
Like
invested
Amazon.
$1,000, you know? Yeah. I mean, all these different things that were things of the past, but I mean, you know, there's plenty of other opportunities that are going to come
Right.
our way,
Yeah.
you know? So, and it's as entrepreneurs, especially like, so I do health insurance, right? That's my thing. But what
Correct.
I'm passionate about is business consulting. So like for someone like you, I
Yeah.
get more gratification I would get more gratification making you rich, way more than I would ever get for making me rich.
I think
So
I
like,
would like the same thing. Yeah.
yeah, like, you know, like, and I've kind of gained some of those skills over the years, and kind of learned from guys like Grant and these other people who are very successful. And, you know, and the sales aspect is kind of a big thing with that, right? Like people always say salesmen we get these bad raps, right? Like, you're scumbags, you're scummy people, yada, yada, yada. But what people don't realize is, guess what? You bought something from Amazon, somebody sold you something. You went to the checkout line at CVS, Walgreens, someone sold you something. All those
Yeah.
people are salespeople. You're either always, at every moment in your life, you're either selling someone or being sold.
Right. Being
And
sold
that's
to. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because think about it. Like if you have a girlfriend, you're selling her on the fact of why she should be with you and
Yeah.
not somebody else,
You're right. I never
right?
looked at it that way, but you're 100% right. Yeah.
And I learned that from Grant. Sell or be sold. Great book, free. Costs you $0. You pay the shipping for it. Sell or be sold. It'll change your life forever. Because you
Yeah.
realize that every transaction in life, or everything you do in life, like, is a sale. It doesn't matter. Like this right now is I'm selling you right on to go get
Yeah.
sell or be sold.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
or like to invest in sales programs, or to you know, like it's just we're always selling, and people don't realize it. And there's a big difference between scumbags and salesmen, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because like think about it, right? Like if someone was to say, Nate, like you're a scumbag because you're a salesman, what they're saying is that I'm a scumbag who's willing to ruin my father's reputation, because keep in mind that I do everything because of him, and to crush these golden arches because I sell things. I'm not willing to sacrifice this name and my father's name for any amount of money, for anything, because he taught me all the core values of life, you know, character, integrity, you know, to stand up for others when they can't stand up for themselves, like all of these different things. So like I take it very personal when people think like, oh, you're a salesman, you're a scumbag.
So you have had
Okay.
that said to you before then?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And like, you know, all the time, like when you start making cold calls, like doing what I do, one of the things that drives me most insane, anybody who works with me knows this, is when someone says, "Are you here to sell me something?" and the person who is selling something says, "I'm not here to sell you anything."
Right.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
Newsflash for anyone and everyone that hears this: if you ever get a phone call from someone and you don't know who they are, they're here to sell something to you. So
Yeah.
like, it's just a simple way of the world. It's a fact. And you know, honestly, like I said, I'm proud to be a salesman, because you can have the best products in the world. It doesn't matter what it is. It could cure cancer and you want to give it away for free. But if you don't have somebody to sell it and get it off the shelves, then the economy dies. There's zero economy without salespeople.
Let me tell you what I was doing last fall. Last fall, I would buy a bunch of stuff online in bulk, and I would go to a flea market. I set up a table and I was selling it.
Nice.
Now, each sale, I was only making a couple of bucks, but there was something to it, the thrill of the sale. Even though it's not a big sale, I got excited every time I did sell something.
Yeah,
So
it is.
there's that too.
It is definitely, it is exciting. And like doing what I do, man, you gotta think like people entrust me to protect their most valuable asset, which is them.
Yeah.
And that's like a big thing with health insurance, right? Is like people think like, oh, I don't really need it. I'm young, I'm healthy, yada, yada. But the number one cause of bankruptcy in this country, 66%, so 2/3 of all bankruptcies in this country are due to medical bankruptcy, because people didn't have insurance, because they
Right.
thought, oh man, I'm young, I'm healthy. What do I need health insurance for?
Right. And then something big comes up.
And then, you know, the thing I always like to ask is, the question I always like to ask is, well, you know, Austin, let me ask you, when was the last time you've ever met someone who accurately predicted their next heart attack? Go ahead.
No, I
I'll
mean,
wait.
maybe
You know,
someone
like,
overweight, you know,
they might have known it was coming, but they didn't
yeah.
know the day and time.
Right.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like, who predicted that they were getting to a car accident and turning themselves, or, where it turns you into a paraplegic? Yeah, is there going to be lawsuit money? Is there going to be all this other stuff? Is there PIP? Is there all that? Of course there is. But guess what? There's also going to be long lasting medical effects and things that are going to need to be covered. And that's what health insurance is. When you buy health insurance, you are protecting your most valuable asset, especially if you're an entrepreneur, which is yourself and
Yeah.
your loved ones. It's actually creating more financial security than any amount of money can.
Now, is this company, are you like, I don't know the right word for it. Like, are you a supplier of your own health insurance, or are you selling plans from other health companies?
Yeah, so like I've teamed up with essentially with other companies,
Yeah.
and then the largest healthcare provider in the world, and basically what I specialize in is private health-based plans. So rather than like Obamacare plans that are
Right.
guaranteed acceptance,
Medicaid,
like
Medicare.
anybody, yeah, everybody's accepted. They take everybody as matter of cancer, 4 times,
Right.
3 strokes, you're diabetic and currently pregnant, they have to accept you. The
Yeah.
plans that I deal with, basically what they do is they're called medically underwritten, kind of like similar to life insurance, except they don't come poke and jab you with any needles. They're simply just going to look through your medical records to make sure that you're healthy enough to kind of um, get accepted into the risk pool, because that's what it is with insurance companies. It's all
It
about
is.
the risk,
How much they're
liability
going
and
to
the
have to
risk
pay out.
factor.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how they're able to, like, the plans that I do work with, like, you can't really see it right there, but it says like the largest nationwide PPO network in the country. Why is that important? Well, let's say you do have that cancer or heart attack, stroke. Do you want to go to Billy Bob down the road, or do you want to go to the Mayo Clinic, the Cleveland Clinic, and see
Right.
the #1 physician on the planet that specializes in whatever it is that ails you?
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes
And
that
then,
peace of mind is worth the fee.
yeah, and the thing this is where our healthcare system is so messed up, man, is there's not a single, I mean, there's like, I think 4 states in the entire country that even offer like PPO networks. Everything else is about, they're what's called HMOs and EPOs, which essentially cover you in your county, maybe a few surrounding counties. If you go outside the state, you have zero coverage. They don't cover you on the job like for accidents on the job. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to knock it because, I am a product of the public marketplace. I can't qualify for the plans that I sell because I have 2 herniated discs in my spine. I
Yeah.
got hit
Oh,
by a
wow.
senile old man on the way to my job for the first time ever. I got hit into a car accident, got hit by a senile old man, herniated 2 discs in my spine, and
And
now I
when was
can't
this?
qualify for the plans. It was December 2nd, 2019.
Okay, so it was a couple years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And that's, I mean, so I can't even qualify for it, but I know that if you can, there's no doubt about it. It's the best coverage in the country.
So this MAM Health Coverage website, you designed this website?
I actually have a marketing team that did it for me.
Okay.
We worked together for like the logo. They had kind of given me like a rough idea, and then I have this amazing friend. Her name's Gina Knight. I love this girl. She's absolutely tremendous. She's 23 years old. She is one of the most talented young women I've ever met. And I brought the idea to her, kind of what they had, and we started messing around with it. And then all of a sudden, we came up with this. And
Yeah.
this couldn't be any more perfect, because what it is the golden arches, right? Like when you think of the golden arches, what do you think of?
Heaven.
Or okay, that's a great one, right?
Yeah.
Or when you think about like today, modern age golden, arches on this planet, what do you think of?
I don't want to say McDonald's, but
Exactly, but that's what it is. And what have
oh,
they
really?
done? They've created obesity. They've,
Yeah.
kind of, they have a great business model. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Ray Kroc definitely is a genius.
Right.
However, McDonald's doesn't really never helped anyone.
Yeah.
It's only
It's
hurt.
not healthy food. I mean, you can go to McDonald's for a salad, but that's absurd.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no one who does that, right? Like, but these golden arches, I want them to represent safety, protection, and just, real
Well,
honest
the logo's got some
security.
symbolism behind that. I like that.
Yeah, it's the golden arches that are actually going to protect you, right? And like, and
Yeah.
the thing too is like when you do business with me, for when the health insurance world is, if you go sign up for a plan just on your own, or even if like you're at work and you go sign up through HR, you don't have anybody there that like is going to defend you when you have something big that happens.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's what you do. So let's say somebody wants to make a claim or whatever it's called. Are you the
Mhm.
guy who, okay, I'm going to make some phone calls? You do that for
Yeah,
them?
like my clients don't call customer service. You
Yeah.
call me. I tell
Yeah.
people dial 911 and then dial 941. That's me. You worry about getting healthy and let me worry about everything on the insurance side, right? Because once again, this our healthcare system is so broken. Just like one example, I had a client. Her name's Tammy. She's absolutely amazing from Texas. She had to get a whatchamacallit, like a knee scope or whatever. They
Yeah.
tried to charge her like over $40,000.
Right.
And I was like, all right, Tim, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a phone call. I'm going to talk. Obviously, they're going to tell me I can't talk on your behalf. And then
Yeah.
obviously you're going to be there to just say, okay, I give Nathyn full permission to speak on my behalf about anything to do with my finances as well as my health, because there's HIPAA laws and things
Correct.
that protect people's privacy. And by the time we were done with the call, we ended up negotiating it down to like, I think like $6,000 or $7,000.
Oh, wow. So a
Like
fraction of what it originally cost.
yeah, because people try to take advantage of you, especially if you have health insurance, because they think they can just bulldoze right through you, right? Like if
Right.
they start talking about deductibles and networks and copays and this and that, most people don't know what that means. But I'm a
Yeah.
licensed 215 agent in 33 or 35 states. So there's literally people, like I mean, I'm I'm licensed in more than half the country, and my job is health insurance, right?
So
Like,
you need to be licensed to sell insurance, or is this
oh yeah.
something? Yeah, you do. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's a very heavily regulated industry. So you definitely have to hold a license. And anybody out there, by the way, if you're watching this, anybody you speak to, the first thing they should always do is show you their license, and it should give you where they're from, um, the basically a sign off from the governor of the state. And also there should be some sort of license number or what's called your national NPN number, which is national producer number. If they can't show you that, don't talk to that person.
Yeah, because you can sign up for a plan through them, and then when push comes to shove and you need your health insurance, the guys know where to be found, and you're not signed up for anything.
Yeah, and also too, like a lot of those unlicensed agents and things, they're selling plans that aren't real plans. Like, like for instance, like MetaShare. This one kills me, right? Like I'm not a religious person, like I said in the beginning, but they call it like a Christian ministry share plan. I have another client. Actually, it was my friend's client that I'd mentioned earlier. They pre-approved the client to have a $70,000 knee or ankle surgery done. So they
Yeah.
gave a pre-approval letter. They had the surgery done and then denied the claim. They're all across the country right now. There's lawsuits against MetaShare or any kind of share programs,
Right.
because they're not real insurance, right?
Okay.
And
So would that be like, whoever's behind that, do you think they would be facing prison time?
I think they should be.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't know. Do I think that they will? No, but I think that they most certainly should be.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up. Stealing. That's basically stealing money because they were going to get paid for that, and
Well,
I don't
yeah,
know.
because the way it works is basically a group of people pay into a pool of money, and there's a board of directors of 5 or 6 people, and those 5 or 6 people decide the claims that get paid. Well,
Right.
and then also, so basically, if it's you or me versus a 6-year-old child, who are they going to give the money to? The 6-year-old child's always going to get it.
Yeah.
But then once the money runs out in the pool and there's no more money to give, that's the end of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I had a guy I was trying to help that ended up going with a share plan, and I begged this guy. Like literally, I sent him emails, text messages, begging him. I said, "Listen, dude, I don't care if you do business with me, but please, you have a family of 4 or 5, and this is what it's where it's tough when because they call themselves the Christian Ministry Share Plan. People are like, well, this is in God's name. A lot of people do a lot of messed up things in God's name,
Yeah.
and they like they're God's soldiers when they're not. They're the wolf in sheep's clothing who are pretending to be something that they're not. And I couldn't get a hold of this guy, and unfortunately, he ended up going with that share program. And I even told him, I said, "Listen, dude, you don't have to do business with me. I can have 100 other agents call you. I can give you the number to any other company that you want, but just do yourself a favor and get a plan that has a true max out of pocket on it and a financial stop loss."
Yeah.
Because that's the most important thing with insurance, is that your plan has to have a max out of pocket, because that's like where, like, if you have that cancer, heart attack, stroke, okay, your max out of pocket's $10,000, and it doesn't matter if your bills are 100,000, a million, 7 million. The most you're ever coming out of pocket for is $10,000 a year.
Yeah. Now,
That's
let's say you have to have a surgery. If it's not life threatening and you don't have insurance, can the hospitals deny you?
so yes, they can. The only place that can't ever deny you for not having coverage is an emergency room.
Okay.
So now, with that being said, I'll tell you what I tell all my clients. The only time you should ever go to an emergency room is if you wake up there.
Yeah.
Reason being is because they're going to charge 7 to 10 times more, especially if you're insured, than the normal, walk-in clinic or anything like that. Because, like I said, they have to treat people, right? So they can't turn anyone away. And that's another thing that's broken with our healthcare system is you can go. I guarantee you, if you called 4 facilities right now, all in the same state, all in the same zip code, you would get 4 different prices for everything. For no one would give you the same price, and no one would give you an actual price. They would just give you a range, and they would all be different.
Is there someone out there who gives customers, gives patients like quotes from different hospitals, and then they can kind of like pick their hospital?
I mean, so yeah, most facilities would give you like a quote or something like that, or give you but like I said, it's going to be a rough guesstimation. It's never going to be like an exact dollar. The only place in the country that has that is Maryland, and it's what's called the Maryland Exchange. And essentially what it is the top medical physicians in the state got together, and they basically put a fixed dollar amount on everything. So exactly the dollar it's going to cost you as soon as you walk in the door.
Why don't more hospitals do that? That seems like you can't really go wrong, can you?
Not for us.
Yeah.
But for them, you can.
Yeah. And you charge too little.
It's because here's what happens, right? Is like you walk in, you have no insurance, and we treat you, and you say, okay, I'll pay you $5,000 cash to have this treated, and they say, okay, great, that's $5,000. It's going to take us 2 hours to do it. It's $2,500 an hour we just made. Perfect. But now you have insurance. And instead of that $5,000 procedure, now they're going to charge you $60,000 because they look at it as, I'm not charging you, the individual, we're charging the insurance companies.
Yeah.
So it's super unregulated. And so some of the stuff I've seen is terrifying, because it's just,
So are you up to date with like prescription costs and what your plans cover prescription wise?
So for prescriptions, I am up to date on what my plans do cost, but the first thing I would tell anyone is to go to GoodRx.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I don't I have 2 insurance plans, by the way. I don't use either of them. I use GoodRx, and I get most of the time on GoodRx, you're looking from like anywhere from 70 to 95% off most prescriptions.
Yeah, where I was going with that is I worked in a pharmacy, and I had a guy crying one time because he just got diagnosed as a diabetic. His insurance did not cover insulin, and it was going to be hundreds of dollars each month. And he looked at me, He goes, "I'm going to freaking die." And I felt really bad. I didn't know what to say or what to tell him.
And there's really not a whole lot you can do, right? Because his only option is for healthcare, if it's not through his employer, and he's under 65, is Obamacare. Yeah. So he's going to be looking at having a plan that has even if he went with like an extremely high deductible, he's going to have to pay $7,000-8,000 before they're going to start paying for that. And like that's why you see all these things when people are like, "I'll get the COVID vaccine," when you start giving insulin out for free.
Right. Yeah.
That's because it's very true. Like a lot of people don't know this, but big pharma is the #1 grossing industry in this country.
Agriculture.
No, big pharma, like medical.
Oh, big pharma. I thought you said big farms.
Okay. No, big pharma, like prescription drug companies. They're the #1 grossing companies in this. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense.
And I've actually read this. I don't know if it's still accurate or not, but I've read that you've actually you can lose your practice as a doctor if you were to give a holistic way to heal someone
Yeah.
instead of giving a prescription, instead of prescribing them the prescription,
Really.
And like I said, I can't, I'm not 1,000% on it, but I'm
Right.
fairly
You're
certain.
paraphrasing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, the fact that that's even a thing. I mean, the first thing they should always do is try to do what's best for the client or the customer, right? Like the
Yeah.
person who's in need.
Right.
And if that is a holistic solution, then go that route. Like what is it costing you by going? I mean, well, we know what it's costing. It's costing dollar bills,
Right.
but I mean, like look at the stuff that's going on right now with when you talk about COVID and like how it's, Fauci's pushing this vaccine, and then the number one biggest beneficiary for the vaccines and everything is Fauci's wife. Like, how is that legal? You know
Wait,
what
I
I mean?
didn't even
Like,
hear anything about this. What happened?
yeah, so basically, I forget what the names of the program are, but like basically Fauci, obviously is who he is, and then his wife
Yeah.
is the head of this other organization that like controls the regulations. It's not like the FDA, but like some other
For those of you
program.
who may not know how do you say his last name? Fauci?
Fauci, yeah.
What is his official title? Is he of the
I don't.
WHO? Like the World Health Organization? Is
No, he's not with them. He's the chief medical advisor to the president.
chief medical advisor. Okay, so he was selected by Trump at the time, correct?
I don't think so. I believe it was
No?
actually. I think he was like already in place. The guy's been like in
Right.
that position for like 100 years.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
let's see what his wife's. Yeah, because I'm curious now about just make sure we got this right. Fact checks. Anthony Five.
Yeah, because he's pushing this vaccine. The vaccine is free, but who's getting the money? Who's paying for it?
Exactly. So who's paying for it is the government.
Yeah.
The government's taking your tax dollars and they're paying, these companies, and then they're giving it away for free. Well, let's just look at the history of mankind. When has the government ever given something away for free?
I don't think they have.
And exactly, right? So like, I'm not vaccinated. I'll never get vaccinated. If you tell me bullet or vaccination, I'll take the bullet. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this, a lot of medical people especially. But also from a medical standpoint, I also know that the FDA usually takes 5 to 7 years before they even go to
They
human
do.
trials with most
They do.
drugs. And they're, putting needles in people's arms, giving these vaccinations, with minimal time of if any testing at all,
Yeah.
and I mean like
Now
that's
I got the vaccine, and I 100% hear where you're coming from. I waited for the longest time, a couple months. I waited to see what people's reactions were. Now, I will say this: after getting the vaccine, the next day I felt like I got hit by a truck, or like I just worked out. All my muscles were sore, and I don't have that with the flu shot, But I have no idea if that was a normal side effect. I didn't really look into it too much, but I will say
well,
that's what happened.
the flu kills a whole heck of a lot more people than the COVID has. That's
Absolutely,
for
it
sure.
does. Yeah, that is
They
for
don't
sure.
they don't ever ask you for a flu card, polio, obviously. What was
Right.
it?
Everybody gets that at birth.
The swine flu. They try to compare this to the swine flu from like the early 20s that killed 1/3 of the human population.
Yeah.
There's just so much false BS about it when it comes to COVID. Like, and like for instance, if you're vaccinated and I'm not, they say that I'm putting you at risk.
But if I'm vaccinated and you're not, why do you have to get vaccinated too? Isn't
Well,
that
who would be at risk there, right? The only person that would be at risk would be me because you got a
right?
vaccination that stops you from being able to contract COVID, but I
Yeah.
don't. So I'm actually the only one that's at risk.
Right.
So when they spread this BS about like, oh, if you're not vaccinated, you're killing other people. No, that's not true. It's not even close to true. And it's very misleading. And that's what the government does. Like, I
You
mean,
know what I don't understand is, are you familiar with who Colin Powell was?
mhm.
Okay, he passed away of COVID, but he was fully vaccinated. So are people who are fully vaccinated still passing away from this?
Yes, and they're
Yeah.
still getting sick. My attorney actually for my car accident, um, a couple of weeks before, we actually finalized, or I don't even know what you'd call it, closed the deal essentially. His whole family of four, all vaccinated, all got COVID.
Yeah, that's
Like literally like 2 to 3 weeks before. And it's like, so like once again, like where you're signing, I mean, people are signing up to, and no offense to you or any of them, right?
right,
Because
right.
I mean, we should be able to trust our government.
Right. You should be able
When
to.
you live in America, right, like in what they call a true democracy, which we are not, by the way.
Right.
But when they say that, you should be able to trust them and take them at their word and think that they're doing what's best for you. But
Yeah,
what people don't understand is those people up at the top, they're all getting rich off this.
they are.
They're all making a lot of money off this deal.
They are.
You know what I mean? Like Mike Pence, when this first came out, said that this is actually the first time I ever invested in my entire life. I ever invested was in 3Ms, because he said the very first address he ever made to the nation, we've been working with 3M for 3 months prior to this to get more masks and gloves and all these things out there. And I
Yeah.
was like, so you did know this was coming? I thought we just found out about it. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, it's like there's so many things that are so contradictory through it. And then also too, like the mask, by the way, people, just so we're clear, M95 mask, what M95 means is that they stop 95% of
Is that what the name?
bacteria.
That mean? I
That's
was gonna
that's
ask,
what.
because when this first started, N95 was the only mask apparently you could use, and then they switched
Mhm.
from you can make your own mask. So why all of a sudden, why the switch? Is it not N95 or is it not?
I mean, in my humble opinion, and people can call me a conspiracy theorist or not, I'm pretty well educated on the government and history of this country and other countries for that matter. I believe this is all a social experiment.
I don't
Um,
disagree. I think you're onto something. I
because
really do.
here's what's happening, right? Is it's basically they're trying to see what rights are people willing to give up, right?
Yeah.
And this is one thing I love is I have a lot of very conservative, hardcore conservative friends. Like for instance, my best friend's mother, she's 70, most hardcore Trumper you've ever met. She literally won't be your friend if you're not. And she said her words exactly about the vaccine. It's my body. I should be able to do what I want with it. And I said, Deb, that makes me so happy that you just said that. Let me ask you this, Deb. What about abortion?
Yeah.
How does that not directly align with what you just said?
Right. Because people who support Trump, they're not in favor of abortion, correct?
That's right. They're pro-lifers,
Yeah.
and not pro-choice.
Right.
And which again, that's another topic. I mean, I hate to get on these political rants, but it is my favorite thing to talk about, honestly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. This is going well.
And I mean, like what that argument is, right? Is like it's people want, pro-lifers they want life. They want the life to be brought into the world. There's a certain time when this thing now becomes a baby.
Yeah.
But what the real issue is you have a body of individuals, Congress, right, which is made up of 95% of old white men, right, that are dictating and determining how women and what women should be doing with their body.
Yeah.
Guess what? You know what that sounds a lot like to me?
What's
Saudi
that?
Arabia.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're not
That's
wrong.
what Saudi Arabia is like.
Yeah.
That's what in Saudi Arabia, that's what men do, is tell women everything
Right.
that they can and
It
can't
wasn't
do.
until, I don't know, like 2017 till women could even drive in that country. So
I'm pretty sure it's once even back to where they can't now.
really, I
And I
would
mean,
never
and
know.
and it's like,
You
what was
should.
the,
Okay, let me ask you this, because now I will say I did vote for Trump, but I do believe women should have the choice what to do with their body. Now, what about the father? If the father doesn't want to, but the mother does she still have a right? And that's something I'm kind of undecided on. I don't know, but it probably will happen to someone at some point.
so that's an opinion-based thing, right? And my
Yeah.
opinion on that would be it's up to the mother, because, just based off of statistical facts of if you ever were to become a single parent,
Right.
um, custody in like something like over 85% of the time is going to be awarded to the woman.
Yes.
Now I would hope, in a healthy relationship, that's a conversation that, people should be able to have. But in the end, it's not the men's. It's once again, it's
Right.
not our decision. It's not our body. I would be absolutely pissed if that ever happened to me, because one of my biggest goals in life is to be the father that my father was to someone someday,
Yeah.
but in the end,
There's not much you can do.
it's her choice,
Yeah.
because what's to say I'm going to be there in 5 years? And if
Right.
I'm not, like, what's to say I'm not some scumbag that's not going to take care of their kids? How many people are out there that have 15 children and take care of 0 of them?
Yeah. Yeah.
From the men's side,
Yeah.
So, and I mean, and the whole thing, like, this is one of my biggest things in life. I actually plan to run for Congress someday
Oh,
as
really?
as a non-party affiliate, because once again, like, we are the United States of America. Everybody wants to just say we're Americans. No, we are the
Yeah.
United States of America. George Washington was quoted. He said that the two-party system will be the demise of this country. Look what happened when Trump ran for president. Families stopped talking to each other.
They did. I knew
Friends
a
of
lot of
years
friends
stopped.
that they stopped. Yeah.
And think of how crazy that is,
It really
right?
is.
Because like you know
We were
what is
so
it?
divided. So divided.
Yeah, divided we fall. Or united we conquer. Divided we fall.
Yeah.
And look what they do. So when you divide us, and on all these topics, right? Because in the end, we all want the same thing. We
Right.
all
What's
want to be
best?
left
Yeah.
alone. We want to be happy, and we want the freedom to be able to make choices on our own. Like, we're all grown-ups, right? We're all adults.
Yeah.
So in the end, we really want all the same things. So
We
am I
do.
saying a one-party system's away, a three-party system's away? I don't know. But I can tell you that when they first started the two-party system, the president was from one party and the vice president was from another party.
Yeah. That would be weird today.
And that would be weird today. But that's how it was. And I mean, that's how it was, I believe in our founding fathers. I mean, how the hell could you possibly predict? I mean, that 40 years ago, or 250 years ago, whatever we just celebrated, that our country's been around. What they created, the Constitution would still be working in a society where we all walk around with a computer and have instant access to everything.
Yeah. Back then, it would have seemed like magic or witchcraft.
Exactly.
What we're able to do today. So
you would have been, like, hung from the cross from it. I mean,
yeah.
it's
No, absolutely. I actually got is that declaration? That's really what I'm looking for.
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I did is all my friends, whenever they would come over, I would have them sign it. And like one kid was like, this is weird. I shouldn't be signed. I was like, it was meant to be signed. But that's what it was meant for.
There's a reason that the first line, it says for the people, by the people.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first words of the Constitution, is because that's what it was. It was designed for the people, by the people.
Yeah.
Now, granted, those people that at that time were rich white slave owners, but they had the right idea, at least, right?
They did.
I mean, and that's what democracy is. It's for the people, by the people. And
what
when
you
have
our government today, capitalistic?
Well, yeah, we're definitely a capitalistic society. What would I call our government today? That's a great question. Corrupt as shit. Honestly, because there's not even really a form, because there's like 4 or 6 different kinds of democracies.
Right.
But we claim that we're for the people, by the people. That's just not the truth.
No, the electoral college picks the president. It's not like a straight up vote.
Exactly. And think about this too, right? Because we have the two-party system. So you elect an official who's going to represent 50% of their constituency at most, or maybe 60 or 70%, deciding on, how many Democrats or Republicans live in their district. Their job is not to go represent half the people. It's to represent all the people. That's why when you see these bills, I have a lot of legislative experience too. And you see these bills, right, that are thousands of pages long. And then they always put a name on them that's real pretty. Like, the biggest one that in the history of this country that's really kind of screwed things up, the Patriot Act.
Yeah, okay.
If you don't agree with the Patriot Act, then you are unpatriotic. Then you're not a patriot. You know what the Patriot Act did?
Isn't that where they can spy on you?
They stripped every constitutional right that you have in this country away from all of us.
Yeah.
Yes, they can spy on you. They can tap your phones. They can read your emails. They can do all of those things, and they can do it in because they can say that it was in the right of or
Homeland
in
security in a
national
sense.
security,
Yeah.
a threat for national security.
Right.
And now they could just say, well, I hate Donald. I could say I hate Donald Trump. Well, now I'm a threat to
You're on
this
a
nation.
list somewhere if you say that.
I'm guaranteed. Especially after this, dude, I'm going to be on lists all over the place. And you know what? I want to be on those lists
You try to
because
fly.
I want you to know what I'm
fly
coming.
list. Yeah.
Bring it, dude. I'll have friends that have private jets that'll fly me wherever I want to go. I'm not worried about it.
The argument would be is if you're not doing anything wrong, does it really matter if they're spying on you? So I don't have an opinion, yes or no. I'm just saying that could be the argument. If you're not doing anything wrong, what's the difference if they're spying on you?
Well, yeah, but it's still just an invasion of your privacy, right?
It is, absolutely.
And it's a direct violation of your Fourth Amendment right. It says that, which says that in order for the government to ever enter your house, by the way, which little learning lesson for some people here, this also applies when you're in your car. But in order for them to enter your property, they have to have a search warrant signed by a federal judge. So not just like some local judge down the road, a federal judge has to sign off on a warrant in order for them to enter your property.
Right. Does that go for like arrest warrants? A judge has to sign off? And
they've actually just done away with no knock warrants, which basically meant like they show up at your front door, kick your door down, and they come in shooting. Because that's what would happen. So now they have to knock and say, hey, this is the police. We're coming in. We're going to be entering, so that way, because like, dude, if you can't come knocking into my house, I've got 2 ARs, a 12 gauge shotgun and 2 handguns. And you think I'm going to just let you come running up in here?
Right. Yeah. Especially, you mean, people are trained to kind of shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah. So, I mean, with middle of the night, like, I don't know who the hell you are coming in my house, busting down my door, and for what? Like, especially what if I'm innocent?
Right.
And that's another thing too, right? Is like we have a justice system that you're innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
So whenever they do come in and they bust down these people's door, they're still innocent.
Right.
Even if you catch them in the act, they are still innocent. Until they have been proven guilty by a jury of
I was just going to say, it's up to a jury to decide that, not the police, if they're innocent or guilty. Yeah.
And that's a huge, huge issue.
Have you ever served on jury duty?
I don't even want to answer that question because no, but I don't want them to come tell me I need to.
I see what you're saying,
I had never have, but I would be a bad candidate anyways because I worked in an industry where I, know most of the Pinellas County and Hillsborough people in Hillsborough and Pinellas County because I worked in a poker room. But that's just like our criminal justice systems, look at the incarceration rate. 66% of everyone who's incarcerated in this country is Black.
What's your take on private prisons? No, not a good thing.
Absolutely not. Now, keep in mind, I sell private health insurance, right? But privatized for-profit prison systems. You mean you're going to pay me for each person I incarcerate?
Right.
Stop and frisk. I suspect you of committing a crime, and that crime is being Black. Because when have you ever seen them come into a white neighborhood, right, and come up to a guy like me in a suit, walking down the street, and say, "Sir, I'm going to need to search your pockets."
Yeah.
I might have a bomb under this vest. You never know.
Right.
But I'm walking around. I'm white, and never you're going to see somebody that's going to stop and frisk me.
Yeah, and what was it? That was New York City's policy back in the day.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it even is California too. But it's even no matter what. It's like these laws are still extremely discriminatory. Think about this, dude. 1 in 3, or what is it? 1 in 3? Yeah, 1 in 3 African American males between the ages of 12 and 30 are going to be incarcerated in federal penitentiary. 1 in 3. So then, like when people start talking about things, right? Like when they're like, "Oh, Black dads leave their kids, yada yada." That is not what happens. They get arrested for bullshit. There's something like, I believe it's like 30 or 40% of the prison population that exists today. Okay, today in 2021, where marijuana is legal in almost half the country, and they're incarcerated for under an ounce of weed.
I've heard of people serving life prison sentences for marijuana, and that's kind of crazy.
Oh, it's insanity.
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
really is.
for we, it's we, like, I always think back to like the movie Blow with Johnny Depp when he's like, ma'am, what did I really do? I took some plants and I took them over this line, this imaginary line, and
Yeah.
I brought them into America. And she's like, well, actually, you took these illegal plants and you took them across a or a federal border and brought and it's like just like just a funny line from a great movie, but it's crazy. It's so corrupt, dude, that and then how about this one? If you're underage, right, and you commit a crime, there's one person that makes the decision on if you get charged as an adult or as a minor.
Is that the
One
judge or the
person gets to make
prosecutor?
it. Nope, it's the attorney general.
Attorney General. Okay.
I believe it's the attorney general, but it's one person, whoever it is, regardless, still
Right.
gets to make that. And I've seen it, like when I lived in St. Pete, we pulled some statistics on it. And it was something like of the 166 basically test people who were tried or minors that were tried as an adult, like 132 of them that were tried as as adults were all Black.
Yeah.
You know what I
Um,
mean? It's disgusting that how I've spoken to police officers and they've told me we are taught to racially profile.
Yeah.
Like it
I-
is not like it is a crime to be Black in this country by the way that it's policed.
Yeah.
And
I
it shouldn't
get what
be.
you're saying. I do.
It should not be.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it is. I mean, it almost is. You know what I mean? And it's crazy.
You're not wrong. There's a
you
lot of
can't
cops
just
out there who are also dirty cops as well. Not the majority, but there are. And I don't know. You hear stories of it all the time.
let's think about this too, right? To be a lawyer, you go to school for roughly on average, it's something like 8 years. Okay.
Sure,
To learn the laws. To be a police officer, okay, these are the requirements to be a police officer. Either you served 4 years of military or you completed an AA degree.
Yeah.
And then you go through a 6-month training class, and then you are now put onto the street. So you just become judge, jury, executioner, and attorney, and you're supposed to know all the laws and all of these different things, and I know that I'm going to get plenty of hate for this when it comes to police, but trust me, I love and respect the hell out of the police because I know without them, we'd all be screwed.
Right.
However, how can you say that that's adequate training? You know what I mean? That's not adequate training. There's the book on laws are stacked miles high. You know what I mean? And to be able to know all of those things. And then also too, I mean, you got to think when it comes to pulling the trigger and killing or shooting at someone, that's a split second decision, right?
It is. Right.
So for guys that are in the military, it's one thing, right? They've shot before, they've killed, they've taken
They're trained
lives,
to kill. Yeah.
and they know what it's like. But they're also trained to kill first and then before they ask questions.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
they're also they can keep their composure in a
Yeah.
heated situation. Where if you're just some Joe Schmo who has an AA degree from your local community college, graduated from the police academy, but and passed the psych evals and these different things, you get put on the street with a gun and you have the right to shoot. You know what I mean? How are you possibly trained well enough to know and to not and that's the thing, right? Is anytime we all have animalistic instincts, right? And if you back us into a corner, we're always going to defend ourselves. It's just natural human instinct. So
when I was young, I did want to become a police officer. Now, growing up, I started going to school for criminal justice. I was too much of plain and simple a pussy. But what scared me the most was having to make a split-second decision in me being wrong, where now I'm spending the rest of my life in prison because I killed somebody based on he had a cell phone and I thought it was a gun. How many times have you personally you've been wrong about something? It does happen, and you're right.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, they have to make.
And that's the thing is how. Okay, so there's also there's such easy solutions to these problems, but they just don't want to implement them because of money, right? So a rubber bullet, right, fired out of an actual gun from 30 or from 30 feet is going to put anyone, I don't care who you are, it's going to put you on your ass.
Yeah.
But it will not kill you.
Right.
So now cops carry around, on average, they have one clip in their gun, one bullet loaded in their chamber, and then they have 2 more magazines. That's the average, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So if you're a trained firearm expert, if you are being shot at, it would be very easily to drop the clip of rubber bullets and pull a magazine out and chamber a real round.
Yeah.
So why are we walking around with actual ammunition, live ammunition, because you may or may not be in a life-threatening situation? And why, when you pull someone over, like, how many of those videos have you seen where guns are drawn on people?
Yeah.
If you pull your gun on me and you pull me over, you are never going to be a police officer again. But I'm white.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so you're going to be sorry. But if I'm black and I don't have the means to do so, or the knowledge, or the know-how, what do?
Yeah.
You're scared for your freaking life. You're terrified. You end up like that poor girl who got shot in the front seat of her car for just sitting there doing nothing in front of her children. You know what I mean? Like, how easy of a solution would it be to give every cop that walks around, your gun is chambered with rubber bullets, and if you get into an actual firefight, which happens, I would be willing to bet, these are not accurate statistics, but I would be willing to bet that under 10% of all police officers ever actually end up in a shootout.
Yeah,
like,
and that might even be a high number.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm aiming way high, right? Like, because when I'm talking shootout, I mean, you're not shooting once or twice. It means a shootout means you're shooting and someone's shooting back at you.
Yeah, right. You're taking turns shooting at each other.
In reality, it's probably like under 1%.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and because what that is when that happens, it's usually the SWAT team that's coming out. And guess what? The SWAT team is usually made up of majority of trained military personnel who know how to handle a combat situation.
Yeah.
You know,
when I was younger, one time I was home by myself and I saw all these guys with big machine guns, bulletproof vests, big van. They were busting a meth lab 2 houses down. But like I was scared because they were in front of my house. But it was just something I remember about the SWAT team. Yeah,
and think your life's at risk there too, because how many people get killed by stray bullets every year?
That's true. That's very true.
You hear about it all the time. And now, it's funny because if people who know me, right, like 4 or 5 years ago, like when I was doing all this stuff in college, I classified myself as a democratic socialist, right? So like now I'm a hardcore capitalist because I understand that the reason capitalism is frowned upon is just because it's not taught.
Yeah.
Because if everybody knew how to take advantage of capitalism, we could all be rich, right? But like now I'm a little bit more of a conservative, right? Because like I believe in, like, when it comes to guns, like I'm a true and strong believer in no gun has ever killed anyone.
Yeah, people
kill people, not guns.
Yeah, right.
Like no gun has ever just walked up to somebody and been like, "Hey, bang, you're dead."
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
You heard
about
a physical Alec Baldwin?
And how somebody got killed on set?
Yeah. I don't know the full story, but I don't know if like somebody handed him the gun and was like, "Oh, it's a fake."
It also happened in this is going to kind of age me a little bit, but there was a movie called The Crow.
Yeah.
And then there was an episode basically where like the guy, it was like something you'd see on John Wick, where the guy jumps up on the table and just starts like fighting with everybody, right? And there's like 20 guys in the room. Well, the actual actor who was the main actor jumped up on the table, and when everybody else started firing back, one person had one live round in their gun and shot and killed the guy.
Oh,
like a famous world-renowned actor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they had to actually finish the movie off with his stunt double.
Really?
Like even like it's like no gun has ever walked up to somebody and just been like, I'm going to kill you today. Right. I'm going to shoot you today.
Yeah.
A person had to make a decision, right?
Yeah, to make a conscious decision to pull that trigger. Absolutely.
And this brings me to something else too that I think is very important. And when it comes to racism, right? We all have zero decision when we're brought into this world on what we get to look like. We have no decision. We all get brought into this world. Our parents bring us into the world, And then after that, we learn and we're taught certain things, but we get to make a conscious decision, right? So I'll be fully transparent with you. When I was in high school and I first moved to Florida, I came from a town called Whitman, WHITMAN, white man. There was one black kid. He was just like everybody else. Came to a school, 60% minority, 40% white. I wore rebel flag shirts, hung out with all the wrong people, almost got expelled because I dropped the N-bomb on a kid. Completely out of line, obviously. But I was also, at the same time, I lost my dad. I had zero guidance. I was in a whole new world and all these things. And I don't know, I've just recently started posting on social media again. And I met a kid, this kid's name's Javier Reyes. I know he wouldn't mind me saying it. Walked up to me at this event. And he said, "Oh, hey, Nate, like, what's up, dude? Nice to see you again. Like we played football together." And he's like, the first words out of his mouth, "Man, I could have sworn you were a racist in high school." And it was like, I sat there and I was like, holy shit. And I was like, and I answered him and I said, "It's because I was."
Yeah.
So, racism is something that is taught. And
I
just
agree.
like anything that is taught, it can also be untaught, right? So like you can unlearn that or look at something from a different perspective, right? Like just because generations before us have told us like, "Oh, these people are dangerous. They're black. Watch out." Like, the news has said, "Oh, well, these black people, they're all criminals. Look at them. They're all in jail, right? 66% of the jail system's all black. They've got to be dangerous. They've got to be dangerous." Listen, man, I used to knock doors in the hood of all hoods, and they welcomed me with open arms, dude. And I'm talking, like where like it's like scary Brooklyn type stuff where everybody's got a gun, everybody's in a gang. They've got bandanas hanging up, and I walk in, I'm like, "What's up, dudes? What's up, boys? How we doing?
Yeah.
How y'all doing today? Can y'all point me in a direction of somebody that needs some cable and internet?" "Oh yeah, man, my boy over here definitely does." Man,
Is that what you started selling?
Yeah, it was cable, cable and internet. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, and so like to say like, even the scary, and dude, this is at night, like it would be like nighttime.
Yeah.
Right. So like at nighttime, I'm walking up and just because of like the way I would treat them like I would treat anyone else.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Oh," they literally, everybody in the neighborhood would know me. And they'd be like, "Nate, you coming to the barbecue tonight? Nate, it's Pop's birthday this weekend. We're having a huge barbecue Sunday. Make sure you stop by." I stop by. Everybody, "Oh, Nate, so great to see you, Nate. Come on, man. Let's get some of these ribs, get some of this food." And it's like, dude, I've never felt so safe in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like where most white people will be, "Oh my God,
taken back a little bit.
Oh my God, I'm so scared. They're gonna hurt me." Like, no, they're not, dude. And if you act like that, like you're just being ignorant and you don't know any better, right? Like, and that's that white privilege thing again. Like, and it's like, this is one of the most important things to me. Like, did I bring my book? I think I have a book over there, but like one of the things I do, people read the Bible. I read MLK speeches.
Yeah.
I have a book of all MLK speeches, and to get myself going in the morning, I'll read out a speech out of his book because I'm once again, he's as Christian as they come.
Yeah.
I'm not, but I believe he believed in something so great with so much passion that it made that's what drives me to want to be like him, to be, normally I actually usually have an MLK pin on that says dream, because he's the man. He believed in something, he stood up for something, and he was willing to die for it.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a hero. You realize he's the only American of all the people that have ever come through this country. He's the only American that has a national holiday after him.
Is he?
Yeah. He is. Because think about it. You could say like, "Oh, Columbus Day. Christopher Columbus wasn't."
Well, I was thinking more like President's Day. But
President's Day? That doesn't celebrate that.
That's
there's been 46 of them now, right? Or 45 or whatever, 46. You know what I mean? But he's the only single person that actually has a national holiday where banks close, everything's shut down in memory of him.
Yeah, I never really thought about that, but you're right. Yeah.
And it's it's like.
That's in February?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like February 12th or something. I don't even know. But I've actually been in the parade a couple times. But I mean, like that's a big thing for me. Like, man, is because like I said, I know I'm going to have mixed children, and I want my children to be able to grow up in a place where everyone's treated equally, because we all are. We all came out the same,
Yeah.
like I said, we all had the same decision on how we came into this world, which was
Right.
zero. But after that, we all get to make a decision on who and how and what we want to be. How do we want to treat people? Do we want to treat them like, everybody's a human being? Because that's what we all are, right? In the end, we're all humans.
Yeah.
It's not about black or white. We're all humans.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. And that's why, going back to that political divide, it was mind blowing. So me and my buddy went to Washington, D.C., and he had two MAGA hats on. Now, this was before I knew what that even meant. He was doing it, so I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to let him do it alone. Within 10 minutes, people are spitting at me, calling me names. Like, and it was just, and, I wasn't trying to do anything to upset them, but it just really, I couldn't believe how I was being treated. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
Where it's Donald Trump polarized this country more than it ever has been in history. And and that just means that, everybody's on polar opposite ends, like the North and South Pole.
That's not good.
And
especially when you're trying to make decisions based on everybody's needs. And if everyone's divided, that's just
exactly.
What are you gonna
do? And that's the problem. Like, if you ever look at Congress, right, when they vote on bills, it's always, 51-49.
Yeah.
I don't elect you to be my official to go and vote with what one person decided on. I want you to be a free thinker that's making the best decision for me.
Yeah.
And for my family and for the people who you're representing, your whole constituency, not to just be a puppet head that, oh, well, this party, my party said we have to do this, or my party said we have to do this. So we're all just going to vote the same exact way.
Right. Could you imagine though, if Republicans and Democrats worked together, what they could accomplish instead of just battling each other's bills?
It would be unbelievable, dude.
Right.
Free healthcare, college would be free. All these things, like we could take care of all this stuff.
We could.
We could put an end to a lot of stuff, but the problem is, it's money, man.
It's
money. It's all money. But it's not capitalism. It's greed, right? Because capitalism at its finest point. Because listen, as entrepreneurs, you're a capitalist.
Yeah.
Whether you want to be or not, you are a capitalist.
Yep.
And the biggest thing of capitalism and being a capitalist and being a business owner is it's not the money that we take in, it's the money that you don't give back to Uncle Sam, right? Like, why did Jeff Bezos make $178 billion last year and pay under, I think it was like 3.5 million in taxes?
Yeah. That's insane.
Why? Because he knows how to play the tax game.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and that's why the wealthy are wealthy, is because they're financially educated. Their financial education is through the roof, and they know how to play the tax game.
Yeah.
They know how to write off things. They know how to, like this suit that I'm wearing. This is a business expense. Why? Because I have to wear this suit for work every day. Yeah. This headset, this $500 Jabra headset, that's top of the line, best you can get for a call center, tax write-off. The computer I'm on, the webcam, the monitor, everything in front of me, the chair, it's all tax write-offs.
Yeah.
So at the end of the year, my business is going to show that I broke even, maybe made a little bit of profit, but I'm not giving Uncle Sam any money.
Right. You're able to write everything off.
So honestly, the best thing that could ever happen to this entire country is every employer fire all of your employees and hire them back as 1099 contractors. Because when you're a contractor, you become able to, you then gain access to all the tax advantages as a business owner.
So I get what you're saying. So like your transportation could be written off, your clothing could be written off,
cell phone, everything that, because all that stuff is for work, right? The internet in my home,
right?
All these tax advantages, like, and that's what the advantages of being a business owner are, and like I said, if every single company fired all their employees, because if you're W-2, you can't write shit off, including like they took away in the last tax bill, like teachers used to be able to write off like
if they spent
pencils,
pencils,
pens, things like that. They took all that away, right? So, but if they were 1099 contractors instead of a W-2 employee, they'd be able to write all that off, including all the other stuff that they have, all the gas and all the things. And what it would do, right, is if you make $50,000 a year, you're in a tax bracket where you're getting taxed at 27%. Yeah. So you're losing 27% of your income like that, right? So what would happen is if So if you lose, well, your math's probably better than mine. So what is that? Like you're losing like, I don't know, let's just say it's 10,000 for
Sure.
easy math purposes, right? But if you were a 1099 contractor and you weren't, stuck to these crappy W-2 standards of ways of paying taxes, you'd be able to write all of that $10,000 off as tax deductions in
Yeah.
gas, in cell phone bills, in everything that it takes to run your company, right? Like if you're a teacher, pencils, pens, papers, erasers for the board, like all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And think of how much you want to drive an economy. You want to see an economy that's never been seen before, thriving like you've never seen before. Fire every W-2 employee and hire them back as a 1099 contractor. And we would see the largest and most booming economy this country has ever seen, that the world has ever seen, by the way, not just this country, that the world has ever seen.
So why do you think, why haven't we done something like that? Is it because government just, they battle themselves, like they beat themselves at things?
I think that one, it's probably greed of the companies. Yes, I think there's probably a lot of government regulations that would go into it.
Right.
But also employers would also gain benefits too, right? Like imagine if you didn't have to give every one of your employees healthcare, or if you, didn't have to have workman's comp and liability insurance and all these things on all of your employees. You'd benefit from that as well too.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, like the reason people hate on capitalism so much is because of the fact that they just don't understand what capitalism actually is. And like it kills me now because, like I said, 4 or 5 years ago, I was a democratic socialist, but now I'm not anymore because I understand socialism isn't the way. Capitalism is the way, but we just have to teach people how to take advantage of capitalism.
Right.
And then anytime I talk to somebody, and like even like it's happening a lot with traveling nurses now, I ask them, I say, when you're contracting through these companies, are you contracting as a 1099 contractor, or are they paying you as a W-2 employee? Well, they're paying me as a W-2 employee. Okay, well then you're not gonna be able to write anything off. But the ones that are like, oh, they're paying me 1099 contract. Okay, great. Well, you're able to write off all your expenses for traveling, all those things. You don't even have to now with your phone. You go to bank, say every time you swipe your card or whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't have my wallet on me, but I have 2 cards. I have a business card and I have my ATM card. Yeah. Everything I swipe pretty much goes on the business card. Why? Right. Because it's all business expense. I sell health insurance. I walk in and I get 2 Red Bulls in the morning. I don't do this anymore, but I used to. I walk in, I get 2 Red Bulls in the morning. I swipe that business card. Why? Because I could have spoke to somebody in there about health insurance. Everybody needs health insurance. Hey, What are you doing for health insurance? What do you do for health insurance?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So technically everywhere I go is a business expenditure.
Yeah. And people can't really tell you no either.
How can they prove it?
Right.
Prove me wrong, Uncle Sam. Right. IRS, And that's,
That's some really good insight. It is. It really is some good insight. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. We've gone over an hour mark, but that's okay. I really enjoyed our conversation. It was fun.
Yeah, it was great, man. I had a blast. Absolute blast.
Yeah.
Love to do it again.
I was just going to say, as I grow my podcast, as I learn how to edit, as I get better equipment, I will be having people on again to just talk about different stuff that we didn't cover. Before I let you go, is there anything else you wanted to add?
I'll just go ahead and take the free plug. It is open enrollment right now. There's 200 million Americans that are looking at health coverage. Before you try to make one of the most important decisions of your life about protecting your most valuable asset, which is you, when you're not offered employer coverage, MAM health coverage, once again, mamhealthcoverage.com. Book a consultation. It's absolutely free. I promise you, the worst thing that's going to happen is when you get off the phone is that you're going to be able to make an educated decision on your health coverage.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, the number, the name, it's all right there.
Yep.
Nate, thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
Austin, it was my pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me. I wish you nothing but the best, man, and all the success out there.
Stay curious.